He was the spitting image of the past, but the price of that love would be total destruction. At 45, Audrey thought she had already lived and lost her great love. Divorced for a decade from a marriage that gave her every luxury but drained her soul, she carried the scar of a goodbye she never got over. Until the day destiny, or the universe, decided to play the cruelest trick on her. In an elite gym, the reflection of her past knocked on the door of her present. A young man, in his early 20s, exuded the aura of her ex-husband on the day they said, "I do." The eyes, the smile, even the unpretentious way he tied his hair up. Everything was a terrifying replica, a ghost that seemed to have materialized to give her a second chance. But would it really be a second chance? Or just a perfect trap? Audrey, with her life of champagne and designer dresses, was about to dive into a forbidden and obsessive love with Ethan, a young man who could barely afford the gym membership. She believed she could recreate the lost happiness, correcting every mistake from the past, whatever the cost. What would the high-class woman do to get the love of her life back, even if it was in a different body? And what was this innocent and dreamy young man who seemed to have stepped out of an old photograph, hiding behind his identical gaze? Prepare yourself for a story where hope gets tangled up with madness, and overwhelming passion threatens to destroy the lives of everyone involved. Luxury can buy many things, but never innocence. Before we dive into the secrets and twists of this devastating romance, if this introduction has already piqued your curiosity, don't forget to hit the like button. It's a simple click for you, but it makes all the difference for our channel. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching this story from? Is it New York, LA, or somewhere else? Do you believe in second chances at love? And what if that second chance came in a completely different person? The mirror in the triplex penthouse overlooking Central Park reflected not only the image but the heavy burden of Audrey's 45 years. It wasn't a physical weight. Her sculpted body, the result of years of Pilates and a Mediterranean diet, was flawless. But the burden of absence, the absence of a love she swore, 10 years after the divorce, was irreplaceable. The dazzling city skyline entering through the window was less radiant than the solitary diamond on her ring finger, a constant reminder of an interrupted fairy tale. The divorce between Audrey and Gabriel, the tech industry mogul, had been civilized but devastating. Not due to a lack of money or public feuds, but because of the silent death of passion. Gabriel became distant, obsessed with business, and Audrey found herself a prisoner of luxury, feeling more like a piece of art in her estate than a beloved wife. She still remembered Gabriel when she met him in his early 20s, full of promise, with a slightly awkward smile and a vibrant passion in his eyes. That Gabriel had died to make way for the magnate. On that Monday morning, Audrey's routine was the same: personal trainer, green juice, and the ultra-exclusive gym. Her only real commitment was to maintain the facade that everything was fine. She was on the treadmill, running at maximum speed, trying to burn off her anguish into miles, when he walked by. The thin, cool air of the climate-controlled facility seemed to vanish. Audrey abruptly hit the stop button, gasping not from exertion but from the sight. Her eyes, accustomed to luxurious distractions and social indifference, fixed on a young man who had just entered the free weights area. He wore a faded, washed-out t-shirt, a color Audrey hadn't seen in years in her circle, and visibly worn sneakers. But none of that mattered. He was Kale. The name flashed in her mind, even though this was the first time she had seen him. He was the 25-year-old Gabriel, the Gabriel who proposed to her in a tiny bistro, the Gabriel who looked at her as if she were the entire world. It was the same defined jawline, the same brown hair that fell lightly across his forehead, the same intense, almost wild sparkle in his eyes. Audrey stopped the treadmill, oblivious to the towel that slid and hit the floor. Her breathing became shallow, almost painful. Life, she thought with chilling certainty, was handing her a gift, a second chance no one else ever got. An opportunity to go back in time, to rewrite the story of her great love, correcting every mistake she and Gabriel had made. Translation into Native American English. She spent the rest of her workout, and the entire day, in a state of near trance. She discovered his name through a subtle question to the gym receptionist. Ethan. The name was different, but the appearance was identical, unmistakable. Ethan. A name that resonated with tragedy, Icarus. Audrey ignored the dark irony. To her, the name simply sealed their fate. He was the new beginning that would make her soar again. In the following days, Audrey reorganized her schedule. She abandoned Pilates and French cooking classes to spend more time at the gym, coinciding with Ethan's schedule. She started dressing more casually, less corporate first lady, trying to narrow the vast gap in class and age between them. One afternoon, she saw him alone, struggling to fix his earbud. It was her chance. She approached him with the forced elegance of a predator, yet the shaky voice of a teenager. "Need help?" "I could lend you mine," she offered, showing a pair of wireless earbuds that cost more than Ethan's monthly salary. Ethan looked up, and Audrey's heart skipped a beat. There he was, the young, innocent Gabriel. "Oh no, thank you. I'm almost done fixing it. It's just a loose wire. If I have to buy another one, I'll have to stretch my budget for a while." The mention of his financial strain only drew her in further. Poverty, problems, things Audrey could solve with a snap of her fingers. He needed her. "Ethan, right?" she asked, feeling a blush creep up her cheeks, something she hadn't felt in years. "Nice to meet you, Audrey." "The pleasure is mine, Ms. Audrey," he replied, and the formality bothered her. She didn't want to be Ms. Audrey, the rich woman. She wanted to be the Audrey that Gabriel had loved. "Please, just Audrey. And you look so much like someone I once knew." She left the phrase hanging, like an invitation. He looked at her with naive curiosity, but didn't ask anything. The silence was an abyss of opportunities for her. Audrey couldn't wait. The obsession, disguised as hope, was already taking over her every thought. Ethan was more than just an interest. He was her redemption. She would do anything to make sure that this love, the same love, worked out this time. What she didn't know was that, in some dark corner of the city, someone was watching her, and the resemblance between Ethan and Gabriel was not a whim of fate, but the first act of a much more complex and dangerous plot. What would you do if you found the love of your life again, but in a younger person from the opposite social class? Audrey's obsession with Ethan grew exponentially, transforming the rigid discipline of her life into a silent, relentless hunt. She wasn't just in love, she was reliving the lost youth and passion through a perfect replica. Her wealth, once her gilded cage, became her main tool. Their encounters at the gym became frequent. Audrey acted with calculated naturalness, offering rides in her luxury car, an immaculate Bentley that violently contrasted with Ethan's worn backpack. He always politely refused, justifying that he took the subway and her route wasn't convenient. This refusal, instead of pushing her away, only intensified her desire. Ethan wasn't interested in her money. He was pure, like the Gabriel she had loved. Audrey then resorted to more elaborate strategies. Through a discreet investigation paid to a private detective, a minuscule expense in her budget, she discovered that Ethan lived in a small, modest neighborhood in the northern part of the city, in a simple house, and worked 2 jobs, at the gym in the mornings and as a helper in a small auto repair shop in the afternoons. His dream was to save money to start college, studying engineering. One day, Audrey showed up at the repair shop, wearing oversized sunglasses and discreet, yet undeniably expensive clothes. "My car is making a strange noise in the engine, and I was recommended this place," she lied, with an angelic smile. Ethan was covered in grease, but the sight of him working with his hands brought back Audrey's vivid memory of Gabriel, who started his life fixing computers in a cramped garage. The contrast between his simplicity and the complexity of her life attracted her like a magnet. "I can take a look, but the waiting line here is long, ma'am." "No need for a line," she countered, her voice low and firm. "I'll pay the rush fee. And please call me Audrey." That day, while waiting in the makeshift reception room of the shop, smelling of diesel and rust, she finally managed to break through his barrier. The conversation flowed surprisingly well, and Ethan opened up about his dreams, the difficulty of supporting his family. He lived with his sick mother and grandmother, and his passion for mechanics. Audrey felt a powerful wave of empathy, but also the certainty of her power. She could be the fairy godmother. She could give him everything that Gabriel and she had fought so hard to achieve in the past, but without the losses and weariness of the struggle. Ethan, you have enormous talent. I'd like to help you. I can give you the money for college, as a loan if you prefer. The young man was initially speechless, his eyes wide with surprise and distrust. I can't accept that, Audrey. I'm not like that. Don't be silly. I have more money than I can spend, and you remind me so much of a dear person from my past. Think of it as an investment in your future. In Gabriel's future, who never got the chance for a shortcut, she quickly added, using her ex-husband's name to give a touch of melancholy and nobility to her offer. This small lie, this subtle manipulation, worked. Ethan accepted the money for his enrollment and first few months of tuition, promising to pay back every cent. The first step in Audrey's obsessive relationship was taken. From that moment on, their frequency increased. They saw each other not just at the gym or the repair shop, but in elegant cafes, where she gifted him books and clothes that matched the Gabriel of her memory. She ignored the age difference and the unspoken disapproval she sensed in people's stares. Audrey was rewriting the past, and the euphoria was intoxicating. One night, at a black-tie gala dinner at the Plaza Hotel, to which she took him, introducing him only as a young entrepreneur she was mentoring, they danced. Embraced by Ethan, feeling his subtle cologne and the strength of his arms, she closed her eyes and saw only Gabriel. "You look so much like him." She whispered this, and this time he didn't pull away. On the contrary, Ethan stared at her deeply, with a look Audrey couldn't quite decipher. Was it gratitude, confusion, or something more? The curfew in the neighborhood where Ethan lived brought them back to reality. At the car door, before he got out, the first kiss happened, fueled by the intensity of the music and the champagne. It wasn't a kiss of discovery, but of rediscovery. A kiss that sealed a dangerous pact. What Audrey didn't realize was that, while she believed she was reenacting a love story on the other side of the city, in a dark, high-tech room, a monitor displayed the exact location of the Bentley, with a red dot intermittently flashing on the map. And you, the reader, what do you think is behind this incredible resemblance? Do you think destiny is truly being kind to Audrey? Or is this just the calm before a devastating storm? Comment below. The relationship between Audrey and Ethan flourished in secret, fueled by her desperate passion and his growing gratitude. Audrey's luxury apartment, with its panoramic ocean view, became the couple's haven, a stark contrast to Ethan's small house. The age and social class difference momentarily dissolved in moments of intimacy, where Audrey allowed herself to be the passionate young woman Gabriel had left behind. She invested more than just money. She equipped him with clothes, a state-of-the-art laptop for his engineering studies, and even secured a promising internship for him, using her influence in business circles. Ethan, in turn, dedicated himself intensely, proving to be grateful and, most importantly to Audrey, attentive. He brought with him the energy and attention that had died in her marriage. However, the perfection of that loving déjà vu began to be eroded by small grains of sand. Ethan was almost always evasive about his past and his family. He rarely spoke about his sick mother and grandmother, and he never invited her to visit his house, always making excuses about its simplicity and lack of privacy. Audrey, blinded by passion, accepted this, interpreting it as modesty rather than secrecy. The first real crack in Audrey's illusion happened on a rainy afternoon. Ethan was sleeping soundly on Audrey's Italian leather sofa after an intense night. Audrey, who rarely touched his things, picked up his jacket, which was damp, to hang it to dry. Sliding her hand into the inside pocket, she felt a folded piece of paper. Curiosity, or perhaps the pulse of fear, made her open it. It wasn't a love letter or a bill. It was an ultrasound. The image, with its indistinct features, clearly showed the silhouette of a developing fetus, and at the bottom of the sheet, a name, handwritten in neat, firm script. Leah. The floor disappeared from beneath Audrey's feet. The photo was not old. The recent date and the name at the bottom indicated it was from weeks ago. That fetus had a father, and that father could only be Ethan. Audrey's hope was brutally crushed. This was not about pure redemptive love. It was about a young man, though identical to the Gabriel of her past, whose life was full of responsibilities and worse, secrets. Betrayal. The young man she idealized was, in fact, a man who already had a commitment, a life, perhaps even a wife. The fear of repeating the failure of her past struck her like lightning. She quickly folded the paper, putting it back in the jacket pocket, her hands trembling. Ethan's breathing on the sofa sounded unbearable. How could he hide this? Who did Leah belong to? When Ethan woke up, she was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, the image of the ultrasound burning in her mind. She tried to maintain her composure, adopting her strong and sophisticated woman pose, but anxiety betrayed her. "Ethan, is there something you need to tell me?" Her voice sounded colder than she intended. He looked at her, confused, sitting up and yawning. "Tell you what, Audrey? About your life. I feel like I'm not really getting to know you." Ethan looked away, a shadow of guilt crossing his eyes. "I'm an open book, Audrey. I just don't have a glamorous life to share. My reality is very different from yours." "Yes, I know. But does your reality include a Leah and a baby on the way?" The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan's face went pale, and he stood up abruptly. Audrey's shock came not just from the potential betrayal, but from the shattering of her dream. She was falling in love with a lie, not a second chance. "Audrey, I was going to tell you, it's complicated. Leah is your wife? Your fiancée? A girlfriend you abandoned when I showed up with money and luxury?" Audrey gave him no room for defense. The pain of betrayal was unbearable. "No, Leah is my sister," he burst out, his voice choked. "She's 20, and she got pregnant by a guy who abandoned her. It's her baby. I'm working hard to support her, the child, and our sick mother. I didn't tell you because I was ashamed of how messy my life is, and I didn't want you to feel sorry for me." Ethan's words disarmed her. Leah was his sister, not his mistress or wife. But the secret, the lie of omission, still existed. Trust had been shaken. Audrey felt a strange mix of relief and anger. He was an honorable man, protecting his family, but still, he had hidden the truth. The revelation about Leah and the baby relieved Audrey of the fear of a parallel romantic betrayal, but it deepened her distrust. She could no longer idealize Ethan as a mere fresh start. He was a complex man, full of burdens and with a surprising capacity for secrecy. Yet, the urgency to help the young man, now mixed with a pang of guilt for having misjudged him, reignited her obsession. Audrey decided that to have Ethan's love free of worries and lies, she would have to eradicate his problems. Her first move was to offer full financial aid for Ethan's sick mother's surgery and secure a better apartment for the family, moving them out of the modest neighborhood. At first, Ethan resisted, his pride wounded, but his mother's health was paramount. He reluctantly accepted what Audrey called an advance on a future partnership. As Audrey dove headfirst into Ethan's life, trying to mold him into the Gabriel of her dreams, the mystery surrounding their resemblance intensified. One afternoon, Gabriel, Audrey's ex-husband, called. It was rare for him to call about anything non-financial or non-bureaucratic. "Audrey, I need to know something. You're going to a new gym, aren't you?" "I am. What's the issue?" "A colleague from a club called me. He said he saw you with a young guy, and, well, he said the young man is my spitting image, my 20-year-old self." Gabriel's voice was calm, but with a tone of mockery that Audrey knew well. Her heart raced. How had the news reached Gabriel? "Oh, that's Ethan, an intern I'm mentoring. And yes, it's a strange coincidence." "Coincidence?" Gabriel chuckled, a dry, unpleasant sound. "Audrey, there are no coincidences in your world. You always wanted the past back." She ended the call abruptly, her hand sweaty. Gabriel's comment, from the businessman who mastered the secrets of technology and control, set off an alarm. It was unlikely that the resemblance was merely a whim of fate. That same week, Audrey and Ethan were at a discreet restaurant when Ethan, getting up to go to the restroom, dropped his wallet. Audrey picked it up off the floor. Before handing it over, irresistible curiosity made her look inside. Besides some dollar bills and cards, there was an old, folded and worn photograph. The photo showed a young man and woman. The woman had Ethan's fine features, likely his mother. But the man was undeniably the young Gabriel. He wore the same dress shirt, the same haircut Audrey remembered from their college days. And the photo looked like it had been taken over 25 years ago. Audrey felt a cold chill run down her spine. The resemblance between Ethan and Gabriel was so great because, were they related? Why do you have a picture of my ex-husband in your wallet? Audrey's voice was a whisper, mixing panic and dawning comprehension. Ethan returned, quickly snatching the wallet. He was pale. That photo? That's not your ex-husband, Audrey. That's my father. The father who abandoned us when we were kids. The revelation was an earthquake. Ethan's father was identical to Gabriel. The coincidence was absurd, impossible. Audrey smelled the setup, the bitter taste of manipulation. You're lying, Ethan. You're either using me, or someone is using you. Tell me the truth. Was your father's name Gabriel? Ethan slumped into the chair. He hesitated, and in that brief moment of silence, suspense hung in the air. The young man, who seemed so innocent, held a much bigger secret. My father's name was Arthur. And yes, he abandoned my mother. I never knew him. Arthur and Gabriel. The names were similar, the abandonment story plausible. But the appearance? The resemblance was more than genetic. It was terrifying. What Audrey couldn't know was that, at the same moment, in a high-security office, Gabriel received a report. The screen showed a high-tech facial comparison between Ethan and an old image of Gabriel. The result, 99.8% genetic compatibility. The security camera at the restaurant captured the exact moment of Ethan's despair. Audrey could no longer live in doubt. The photo of Ethan's father, Arthur, identical to Gabriel, was the missing piece to prove that this love was a sham. She decided to use her leverage, access to Gabriel's confidential company records, which she had retained as collateral in their divorce settlement. Using an old access login of Gabriel's, she dove into the deepest layers of a high-security database, searching for any information about Arthur or cloning. Yes, the idea was absurd, but the resemblance was too disturbing. What Audrey found surpassed any paranoia. Instead of cloning documents, she found a highly classified project, labeled Project Themis, Replicative Behavioral and Emotional Testing, RBE. The description was vague, but the access codes led to an encrypted video file and a folder with genetic profiles. Audrey entered the password and watched the video. The image was grainy, but the voice was unmistakable. A young Gabriel, recording a deposition in a laboratory. I am donating my genetic material for Project Themis, as per the agreement. If the in vitro fertilization test is successful, the donor will receive payment in exchange for the complete cession of all rights and absolute confidentiality. The shock paralyzed Audrey. She clicked on the attached genetic profile. Listed there as second-generation donors were two names: Arthur, Ethan's supposed father, and Leah. The two were siblings, but not biologically. They were children of different mothers, conceived through artificial fertilization, using the same donor genetic material, Gabriel. The truth exploded in Audrey's mind. Ethan wasn't Gabriel's son with another woman. He was, biologically, Gabriel's younger half-brother. Ethan's father, Arthur, was just the man who raised the young man, after being paid to lend his name and raise the boy under a confidentiality agreement. The resemblance was not a distant genetic coincidence, but a direct proximity. Gabriel, a magnate obsessed with leaving a perfect genetic legacy, but unwilling to be tied down by a second marriage, had secretly created children through controlled sperm donations and surrogate mothers, or in vitro agreements like Arthur's and Ethan's mothers. Project Themis wasn't about genetics. It was about control. Gabriel wanted children, but not children who could threaten his inheritance or his freedom. In Ethan's profile, a final detail destroyed Audrey. Ethan had been monitored by Gabriel since he came of age. And the job location at the gym, the routine schedule, even the simple repair shop car. Everything had been entered into Gabriel's monitoring system. The encounter at the gym was not the work of destiny. Ethan was placed there, as a social and emotional experiment, a pawn to test one of Gabriel's theories. The pattern of female choice repeats itself. Gabriel knew that upon seeing a young version of her first love, Audrey would fall into the trap. That night, Audrey confronted Ethan, not with anger, but with a deep, cutting pain. "Arthur contacted me," Audrey said, forcing him to sit down. "He needed money for your mother, and he told me everything. About the project, about the money Gabriel pays every month. He told me the truth. You are not his biological son. You are my ex-husband's son." Ethan broke down. The tears were not of guilt, but of shame and dread. "I swear I only found out recently when you offered to help me. I saw some of my mother's papers. I didn't want to use you. I truly fell in love with you." His confession was sincere, but useless. Audrey saw in him the innocence that Gabriel lost, but the fact that he was, technically, her ex-husband's half-brother, and the piece of an experiment disgusted her. Audrey finally understood. Life was not giving her a second chance. It was giving her a copy, a perfect trap conceived by Gabriel's obsessive mind, who controlled even his ex-wife's romantic destiny. The love Audrey felt for Ethan was a reflection, an illness caused by an unhealed wound. She looked at the young man across from her, identical to the man she loved, and saw destruction. Ethan would lose his college tuition and the money Gabriel injected to keep him in test. Audrey lost her last sliver of hope for happiness. The next morning, Audrey used the documents she extracted from Project Themis and notified Gabriel's company board, exposing her ex-husband's genetic and social manipulation. Gabriel, the invincible businessman, would face a public and legal scandal that would destroy him. Audrey, for her part, left the penthouse. She anonymously deposited a sum into Ethan's account, enough to pay for his mother's treatment and college. The love of her life, in the young version, cost her her final illusion. At the elevator door, she looked back. Ethan was sitting on the living room floor, head bowed. He was a good man, trapped in his biological father's cruel plan. Audrey's lesson was bitter. You cannot relive the past, especially when the past has a secret price and purpose. Ethan's love was real, but its foundation was an orchestrated lie. She lost love, but recovered herself, free, for the first time, from Gabriel's control and memory. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel now, hit the notification bell, and tell me in the comments, what was the most surprising part for you? The revelation that Ethan was Gabriel's half-brother, or the ex-husband's social control plan? And what kind of exciting story do you want to see here on the channel?